So this sound went viral on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, literally everywhere.
Excuse me, can you record me real quick? Can you record me real quick?
Get somebody else to do it.
When teachers got their hands on it, this audio took on an entirely new meaning, and that meaning is what today's video is all about. So let's talk teacher bare minimums. I started seeing posts about the idea of being bare minimum probably like mid to late 2020, early 2021. There was Black women bare minimum, just flat out bare minimum, women's bare minimum, and then teacher bare minimum. I remember initially struggling with this idea because I had always been taught that being bare minimum was a bad thing. There were so many negative connotations associated with the phrase that I just didn't give it a lot of thought. It wasn't until I found myself failing to balance my personal and professional life that the idea of bare minimum came back across my FYP. But this time it was the teacher bare minimum. And I probably watched 10 to 15 videos of teachers, most of them being funny about not grading papers or eating their lunches during their planning periods or leaving work at their contracted hours, which we'll get into why that was even crazy. I hate to admit this, but their message still didn't click for me until I finally started drawing some parallels in all of their videos. So let me save you the stress and the trouble by defining it for you now. First, let me start by saying that teacher bare minimum, it's a mindset. It is when a teacher or an educator does only what they are contractually obligated to do. Full stop. Now, I do recognize that we can't talk about what it is without talking about what it isn't. And what it is not is that teachers don't do their jobs well, that they don't care about their students, or that they aren't dedicated to their craft or learning and growing, right? That's not what it is. It also doesn't mean that we aren't here for our parents or aren't focused on our reason for becoming teachers in the first place. Teacher bare minimum requires boundaries to be set and respected. More importantly, this concept of bare minimum focuses on doing your job and only your job, requiring teachers to stop perpetuating the public education system's reliance on their unpaid labor. As I stated earlier, this is a mindset shift. As educators, we are constantly asked to do one more thing or to add one more task to our already overwhelming and overflowing plate. Being constantly overwhelmed can negatively affect your mental and physical health and well-being, ultimately leading to burnout. And we're already experiencing the consequences of the constantly increasing workload of teachers in the current nationwide teacher shortage. One thing I did learn the hard way is that you can say respectfully, no. A few heads may turn, and I guarantee a few eyes and necks will roll. But it is fine to admit that your plate, it's simply already full. It's also okay to call bullshit when something that you're tasked with doing doesn't align with your contractual obligations. Before y'all jump down my throat on some, oh, but duties as assigned, get a freaking grip, Susan. Duties as assigned must also be within reason and aligned to the role in which you were hired to fulfill. In order to begin to take on the teacher bare minimum mindset, you have to take inventory of all the ways you are overstepping the boundaries of your contract. Let me let that sink in. You overstepping the boundaries of your contract. Yes, that is what I'm saying. You may be overstepping the boundaries of your contract. I told you, this is a mindset, and I mean it. Here are some examples. For one, if your contract hours are like 7 a.m. to 3:30, arrive at 6:55 and leave at 3:30. Nothing wrong with that. If your contract says you are to get a duty-free lunch, take lunch and don't do any duties during that time. If your contract says you'll be provided with the materials needed to perform the duties of your job, i.e., what you need to teach, don't buy any damn supplies. I know, that's a tough one. And I'm guilty too. I'll go on record and say this too. Most contracts that I've read state that teachers are to follow whatever policies are set by the district or the state, not explicitly described within their contract. And duh. But that we also are to follow the directive of our school leadership. And that's key. So this comes into play when admins try to require teachers to sponsor before and or after school activities like clubs or sports. And it's a respectfully no. Again, if it's a requirement of the job, then you should be getting paid to do it. Teachers are not volunteers, even though we get treated like we are. So I know I'm about to piss some teachers off, but stick with me and keep an open mind. People go into teaching for a variety of reasons, and honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. However, the problem that I see is when we intentionally make teaching a personality trait instead of a profession. I've said this 100 times and I'll say it again. Teaching is a job. It's a means to an end, just like any other profession. Let's stop pretending that it's anything more than that, which brings me to the whole remember your why statement. Yes, we all came into teaching to make a difference in the lives of our students and for a better future. We love the funny, awkward moments, we love the hugs, and we love when the light bulbs go off when they've learned something new or figured something out that we've been trying to explain for a while. However, I've never been able to pay a single bill with any of that. I made a video once and said, I can't pay Georgia Power in glitter, and people were livid. But in the words of my sister, bills don't care where the money comes from. Keep that in mind the next time an admin tries to guilt you into writing an essay about your why. Let's spend that time finishing some lesson plans or making copies instead. Now, is it good to keep the reason that you're in any profession front of mind? Sure, but that's true for every profession. It's not exclusive to teaching like it's presented. I've never met a teacher that didn't know why they became one. We don't need admin or an essay to help us remember our why. Let me get back on track. The whole teacher why seems to be a method or mechanism to guilt trip us into doing more and more things and to continue to stockpile things on our plate, like softening the blow for a new curriculum 2 days before school starts. Okay, that one was a little bit personal. It actually happened. My bad. The point I want to make here is that one of the worst things we can do is define ourselves by our profession. Teacher is what you are, not who you are, and I need us all to understand the difference. Reframing the position of teacher helps us to keep things in proper perspective. Let's lower the pedestal that we've all been put on and come back down to earth. You can wear the bikini, you can have the drink, you can cuss, let your hair down, go on vacation, and use social media if it makes you happy. You aren't breaking any ethics policies by taking pictures on your girls' trip or your bachelor party. And your closet doesn't have to look like the cover of literally every McCall sewing pattern from the early 1990s. Wear the skinny jeans, the short dress, the crop top, the daddy shorts. Live a little, live a lot. First off, can we please just take a second to give a round of applause for the chapter titles? Your girl was trying to do something different. And I wrote most of this at like 3 a.m. for absolutely no reason. But anyways, if you know, you know. Anyways, like I was saying, you have to make room to live, and you only get to do this life thing once. And we chose to do it teaching. Honestly, this is true for any profession. So now that you know what teacher bare minimum is, you've been empowered to say respectfully no, and you put teaching in the right perspective. Let's commit to being bare minimum, whatever that's going to look like for you. Take one thing off your plate at a time, set boundaries, stick to them, and require others to do the same. And when they don't, it is truly a sign of disrespect. And if you're one who's considering no longer teaching, well, try teacher bare minimum first.